So I'm wanting to stretch this thing, but I think for now I'm just gonna try and make do with what it is. But I'm definitely getting rid of these shock hoops. I'm definitely getting rid of these coil springs. So I'm gonna get these cut off and kind of see what I got. Another thing I've noticed, the way they did the steering box is the steering arm is right above the tie rod, and you can see it's been rubbing. So that's got to go forward. So I'm either going to go full hydro, move this forward. I'm not real sure yet, so I don't know. I have a feeling this little project's going to spin out of control at the rate I'm going, so we'll see. But I'm going to get these things cut off of here. Well, there's one cut off, and yeah, I got some cleaning up to do. I'll cut those off. Grind up some of this, and yeah, I don't know if this is going to stay here. I might do a triangulated front. We're not sure yet, but yeah, we'll get some of this cleaned up and I'll cut the other side. I got the passenger cut off, and already it's looking like a clean slate. I got a lot more room to do stuff on. Yeah, once these coils are out of here, a nice clean air shock running up there is gonna do wonders. So then I'll clean up all this radiator support. I'm gonna do something with some tubing up here, I think. So yeah, just get all this garbage out of the way. So they've got these plates welded on, and I was going to grind all this tubing off from them shock hoops, but I'm about half blind in one eye, and I can do better than that for welding, and I don't know, any of this stuff is only as good as what's holding it on, and I don't think any of this is holding on. And then I'm not a big fan of their radiator mount, so I went ahead and pulled that out. I'm going to cut these off, cut off all these side plates on both sides of the rail here. And like I say, the steering box, it's not bolted in, so I got to take that off. But yeah, like I say, I think this is going to spiral out of control really quick. Well, this just kind of uncovered what I was suspecting. So I got this plate off the side of the rail, and lo and behold, ta-da! So I'm thinking they had a shock hoop probably welded on there. And like I said, these rails are literally, well, I guess it's a little thicker than a quarter, but not by a whole lot, maybe double. So there's not a whole lot to these frames. So I'm kind of thinking with the air shocks and doing the tubing I want, I'm going to either cut it off right at the motor mount and tube out the front half, or I may cut it off way back here and do this all out of tubing, and that way I can get it low, everything will clear. But yeah, this is definitely going to turn into a bigger build, so which I don't mind. I kind of like this little thing, but I don't want to completely redo it. But I don't know, well, just one thing leads to another on these projects. So Sanford was the same way. I blew it up the first day I got it. It sat for a few months, and finally I started working on it, and the whole frame in Sanford looks like that. I patched and welded up holes and did all kinds of stuff on that. I basically threw everything on that, including the tub. The tub was completely rusted. I rolled it over, like my second trip out, and yeah, I found out that about the only thing holding the tub to the frame was a wiring harness. So these little cheap projects, they're not always cheap, you know, and sometimes it's worth paying a little bit more, unless you just want something today just to go. But yeah, there's a lot of issues here you'd find on the trail that would not be fun to fix. So we're going to move forward though, and I'm going to get the rest of this off and just see what I got. Alright, I got the other little piece off there. There's no hole there, so that's the obvious, but I think I'm going to cut it off pretty much at this motor mount. I don't know. I'm kind of, oh, I'll have to do some measuring and stuff, but it's either going to be there or it's going to be right back here at the firewall. And I may hump this up a little higher. So yeah, I'm going to get the other side pulled apart and just see what's going on with that, and probably make my decision. This side's all cleaned up, and I just kind of been climbing around looking at different things, and I'd like to stretch this a little bit more, and I was looking about just buying new tubing and extending this and just kind of leaving things the way they are. But they're kind of a weld on Johnny joint thing or something on there, and if I cut those off and I've got more 7/8 rod ends, and by the time I cut that off, weld in a new bushing and everything. It'll add 3 inches. And so that would kick the front 3 inches forward. And then it's the same thing back here. You can actually see that bushing better back here. But, yeah, there's the weld on bushing. And I don't know if I trust that weld as much as I would putting a heim in there. But that's going to gain me 3 inches on the front, 3 inches on the rear. And right now, it is 103. And that would put me at 109. And that would be, I think, about perfect for this thing. So I'm not a big fan of how everything's hanging down. I kind of been looking at some ways of tucking all that up, and I am going to lower it down probably 3 or 4 inches. It looks like if I change the exhaust and a couple little things and raise the motor up, I can drop everything down a bit. So yeah, I think I got a formula here. So I don't know, we're gonna do a little more on it. I think I'm done for the night. But yeah, hopefully tomorrow I'll have a little bit more done. So stay tuned.